Hey peeps. Obviously we have Mel back with us.
Yay!
Score. Blythe isn't going to be with us this Saturday because she's working. Um, we've had to change our schedule a little bit due to basically work. All of our schedules are just crazy right now. Um, I will let Mel tell you what we're kind of going to be talking about. We're kind of just going to go all over the place this week, but you can tell a little bit about what we're going to be discussing.
Yeah, we haven't really set up anything major this week because we're missing Blythe and it's my first show in about 5 weeks because I've just been all over the place. But we're going to talk a bit about professionalism in the craft and with witches and holistic businesses and groups and all of that, and also about ethics and why it's so important to have your own personal ethics. It's a big subject matter, so we're probably going to jump all over the place. It's going to be a bit bitty, but that's more fun, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just going to be very laid back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You never know what's going to come out of our mouths. It's going to piss someone
No.
off, I'm sure.
Did you want to kick it off, or?
Well, uh, I don't even know what to start with. I don't know. And I guess what we can talk about is more so. We've probably talked about this before, but it's just a common topic and something that's really important for people is just ethics, period. Everyone's asking, well, is this right for me? Should I be casting this? Should I be doing that? People need to decide for themselves what's right for them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And I see so many people blindly following what somebody else says because somebody else has said that that's what they've said. And when you actually delve deeper into why somebody won't do something, they can't explain why they won't do it. They can't explain why that ethic is there and why they won't cast this certain thing or why they won't use this certain thing in casting. They can't explain their own reasons because they're just blindly following other people.
Yeah. And people need to understand, like, you can't ask me what's right for you because if you do, I'm going to give you an answer that is from my own opinion, my own beliefs, my own filters. You have to you have to do the work for yourself. Ask yourself what's right. What do you feel comfortable with? If you don't feel comfortable with it, then don't do it.
Mm.
Um, recently there's been a lot of crap going on, and a lot of unnecessary drama. A lot of people, a lot of situations just getting crazy out of hand. It's really put me in a spot to ask myself, like, what my beliefs are, like, what my ethics are. And it's been really hard because I associate with a lot of people who have very strong personalities, and that's what I attract because I have a strong personality myself.
Mm.
And so I had to really ask myself, am I responsible or do I have any responsibility about certain situations? Like, someone will say something, am I responsible for that? But I'm not, And you can't be held responsible for something that one of your friends say or someone says just because you are associated with them. It's not stupid.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's been going on the past few weeks is just like going through my own ethics, going through my own personal beliefs and finding out, what suits me, what doesn't. And that's been a hard one just because honestly, people really are just stupid. And they really are. And they will hold you responsible for something that you have no investment in. And that's where your personal feelings, your personal beliefs come in because you have to really decide at that point, are you going to do something about it? Are you going to let the situation, this group of people, your work, wherever it's coming from, are you going to let that have an effect on you? And if so, how much of an effect? And If not, what are you going to do about it? And that's where your ethics really come in. It's like, okay, I know I can really go at someone and go for their throat. I can do that, but do I feel comfortable doing that? You know, do I feel comfortable doing it that way? Um, I could kind of try and do what I can to neutralize the situation. I can try and talk and communicate and kind of diffuse a situation if that's possible, but sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes the other situation doesn't want that to happen. So you just kind of have to go with the flow, and at the end of the day, you really have to just be strong in your own self. You have to feel confident and comfortable in your own skin, so you know yourself enough where what people are going to do and say doesn't really affect you. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, we've come under fire the last couple of weeks for not being politically correct, I would call it.
Oh yes.
You know, because we are outspoken and we're straight to the point and we giggle a lot, and you know, I think that so many people have jumped on a bandwagon without really understanding a situation, and I'm seeing this more and more and more, and I saw this in the tarot community, which is why I left the tarot community. I see it in so many spiritual communities that people don't stick by their own beliefs and their own ethics and their own morals when there's pack mentality, and it really is a pack mentality. It's insane, and it's kind of insane troll logic. It's just madness, absolute madness. You know, and I've seen it more and more and more, and I've seen more and more people not want to stand up for their own beliefs and their own morals and their own ethics because they're scared of what other people are going to think. They're scared of what this person's thinking, that they're thinking, that they're thinking, that they're thinking. Right. And I think that as witches and as magical practitioners, you know, it's kind of a duty to know yourself and to know your morals and know your ethics and know what you stand for and why you stand for it.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, specifically about this show, people are so, you know, either we have like no in-betweens. Either we hate you or we like you. And we've never really said anything other than what we really are. We're not PC. We're friends or practitioners that speak how we speak. We're very blunt. We're real. And if people don't like it, not everyone's going to like it, and that's cool. But I think that people need to understand this is where we're coming from. This is who we are. We're not going to change.
No.
You know? So, I mean, I just understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, people just... I'm going to say it again. People are stupid. I don't know. It just kind of baffles me because we've never denied being very blunt. I wouldn't say rude, just blunt.
Yeah. Yeah, we're to the point, and you know, we don't mince our words. We don't worry about if what we're saying is offensive to certain people because it's the way that we feel, and we don't mean to come across as offensive. That's how we come across. It's just that's us.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, really, we're not going out of our way to be like rude or offensive. This is just how we speak, and no matter what we do, no matter what we say, someone's going to take offense to it. So you can't. Life is too short, and there's no point in trying to be so nice and without, you know, with being fake. You know, you can be nice and be fake. I'm not going to be fake and nice. I'll be blunt. I'll be nice when I'm nice, but there's just no point in pretending.
Yeah.
Really isn't.
Yeah. And I think that's something else that I've been seeing in the pagan community recently is people pretending to be something that they're really, really not, and denying those emotions of abruptness and what some will perceive as rudeness, and the strength that comes in standing in your convictions and in your ethics and your morals. I think this is another thing that a lot of people forget, is when you're standing for yourself and you know yourself and you know what you believe and why you believe, there comes a strength with that. There comes a strength, but nobody else can touch you. You know, nobody else can bring you down with what they're saying. Nobody else can even affect your daily life, because you know yourself that you are strong and convicted in what you are doing.
Right. I mean, that's why I always tell people it's so important to know. I will say it constantly, and if you think that you're not learning something from me, that's fine, but I will say it over and over, but you need to know yourself. You need to know your practice. You need to know everything that goes along with that, and when you do, that's when you, like you say, you're strong enough, so it doesn't matter what people say, it doesn't matter what people do, you have that strength, that core that no one can shake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't really mean that people aren't gonna have an effect on you. You know, you're not gonna get depressed, or you're not gonna get sad or irritated and frustrated and overwhelmed. It doesn't mean that those things won't happen. It just means that when they do, you have the tools, or you'll have that strong center where it might take a week or two for you to get out of it, but you will get out of it. You still have that strength, you know, to latch on to.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
There, and honestly, if there's anyone watching, because we kind of just did this last minute, but if there is anyone watching, if you have any questions about anything, this is just kind of a laid-back show, so if there's anything that you want to know, anything you want to address, something we addressed last show or previous shows you want to talk about, just put it up here in the questions, and we will definitely we'll honor that. We'll do what we can to answer some of your questions. Yeah. I know this doesn't go with ethics or professionalism really, but there is something that someone asked and keeps asking. I feel bad for not getting to it, but more so like, how do you connect with deity, and how do you know it's God or goddess, deity that you're talking to? More so, how do you really build that connection? What do you do to find your deity to work with, or build that, you know, relationship with? So someone was basically wanting to know more about deity work.
Okay. Well, for me, I didn't find my deity. She found me. I work with Hecate, and it took me over 10 years before she made herself known. And I have to say, the question about how do you know that it's deity speaking to you and not your own mind, I struggled with that for about 2.5 years. I really struggled with that concept. With, you know, is it just my head? Am I just a little bit loony? And I think that it just comes with practice. It's kind of a blind faith at first. You have to have that sort of tunnel vision that, no, this isn't me, this is something else. And once you've built that connection, I think it's easier to discern once you've been building that connection for a while, but it's not going to happen overnight. You know, I don't think that there's anybody at all that can say, my connection came overnight, bam, that was it. It takes time and it takes practice. Like anything that we do takes time and it takes practice to actually get it right.
Right. And for me, I've been working with her since the age of 10, really. You know, that's when she came to me. That's when she appeared to me. And you're right. And even to this day, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I think self-doubt and those fears are always going to be a part of anyone's practice. I mean, it's human nature.
Yeah.
But the more you work with deity, the more you build that communication, you learn to trust, like, your feelings. Like, this is how I feel when I'm talking. This is how I feel when I'm having an actual spirit conversation. So when you start communicating with deity more often, and you feel it, you feel it, you have something to go by.
Yeah.
So when that does happen, like when you are talking with whatever god that you're working with, you know what they feel like. You know what it feels like when you're communicating with them, so you have that to latch onto. Even if you're not sure of yourself still, you hold on to that and you feel that. When you feel that, you know at least more so that that's the real deal. And always, any information that you're given, always back up. Always check. Don't go with anything that's given to you just because it's given to you. Always back it up. Always do research. If it doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right, then don't follow it. Just because Deity gives you information doesn't mean that you have to follow it.
No.
And that's something important, because I've seen people who they'll follow whatever their deity says. They will do whatever, and they don't even question it. And that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that also goes hand in hand with what we were saying about when a human person tells you something. Any witch worth their weight in salt would go and research all of the different connections to what they've been told, all of the different ways that what they've been told can work, ways that it wouldn't work necessarily. You go away and you do your research. I think that has to be applied to whether it's a human speaking to you or whether it's spirit or a god or a goddess. It's the same. You wouldn't just blindly follow something that some random person on the street said to you. So you're not going to blindly follow what somebody else says to you.
Right.
Shut up.
Or she's talking to her fur baby, not me.
Yeah. Little Coco. No, sit.
Okay, so I'm reading this question. Let's see. How often could someone say something and the recipient isn't ready for it? I'm not sure I understand that one. Oh, kind of like in conversation when someone says, like, you receive something and then someone tells you that you're not ready to receive that? Is that... I'm not sure I follow that question. Can you see it up there?
No, I can't see them. Hang on a second. I hadn't opened the questions on this computer, so I can't see the questions at the moment.
Well,
there we go.
If you could clarify yourself, maybe I could for more insight, but I'm not really following what that's...
I wonder if it's along the lines of how many times would spirit say something to you if you're not ready for it, perhaps? Would they keep repeating it, or would they just stop? Because personally, in my experience, they continue until you listen.
Yeah, they will say it, and they won't just say it. They will put like situations, and they will put like experiences for you to have and deal with if you don't listen. Like if it's really something that you need to be dealing with right now, if it's something that you need to hear, and you're like totally ignoring this, that's being said, you will be thrown for so many different loops. And if you keep ignoring it, eventually you're gonna get like smacked upside your head. And sometimes even literally, like you really will get smacked upside your head. It's funny. It's funny, but it's not, because I've had that happen to me. Like, I didn't listen to something that was said because I'm like, I don't want to. I'm not going to. I know I should, but I'm not going to. I don't want to honor that, And it kept coming up, over and over, not just in like conversations that I would have, but finally it was funny. Someone came up to me and they literally like smacked me upside the head, and they said something. It wasn't like they said something which the reference could relate to the message that I was ignoring. It was really funny. I mean, and that's how it works. At least that's how it works for me. But yeah, if it's something that you really need to listen to, you will get it thrown at you quite a lot in different ways. And the longer it takes, the more painful that it could be.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I've had my life turned upside down more than once because I've refused to listen to certain things. And yeah, I'm currently going through my life being thrown completely upside down because I've refused to listen to things for the past 5 years. And it's, you know, it's thrown me onto my path, but at the end of the day, it hasn't done it very politely, and that's what you're going to find if you continually ignore your feelings, if you continually ignore what you're being given. You're going to find that it's going to be given to you in a really not polite way at all. And I think a lot of witches, a lot of magical practitioners, they forget that the energies that we work with, the energies that we harness, and the energies that work with us are raw, they are primal, they are destructive. You know, nature in its very essence is destructive. It's explosive, it's destructive. You know, the storms, hurricanes, typhoons, all of that, it's destructive in nature. So if we're working with those forces and we choose to ignore them, of course things are going to get destroyed for the message to come through.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like with your situation, and you have been given many, and I've witnessed it, you know, we've been friends for a while, and I've witnessed messages, you know, being messages being thrown towards you, and I know that you understood them, you know, it is what it is. But I think it's important for people to understand that it doesn't matter how long you wait, the message will come through, and you will have to face it eventually. And it's not like, and back then, you might have not been ready for it, obviously. Right now, you might not be ready for it, but you're at least dealing with it, you know?
Yeah.
And that, I think that is important to understand as well. You know, it's just, we might not be ready for something, but it might take us time to finally be open to the suggestion.
Definitely.
And it's a process. Sorry, reading these questions. There's just, I don't know, I think Deity is very, very personal, where it's really hard to tell someone how you connect, how you should connect. But I will say this, don't assume, don't go, I mean, I've said it before, but don't go to Deity and just expect them to work with you. Do your research, you know, make an offering, do something that you're going to start building that connection. But definitely do your research, meditate, talk with them, just build that connection with them, because if you want to have that strong relationship, you have to start somewhere. Just like friendships, you know, you don't just expect someone to have your back when you just met them. You build that, you know, you build that friendship. You go through life together. You go through very tough experiences together, and how your network of friends, how you come together, and how you deal with that produces a specific energy, and that produces this connection where it's like, okay, I do have your back. I understand you. We have this connection. I will be there for you. And that's, to me, that's kind of the same thing with when you're working with Deity, you know? Because you have to build it. You have to, it's necessary to form that relationship.
Definitely. And also, I think, don't shove gods and goddesses in willy-nilly together. I see that so often that somebody's sort of like, you know, I have a connection with, I don't know, say Odin, but I also have a really strong connection with Aphrodite, just for instance, you know, two completely different pantheons, two completely different deities completely. They're completely different. And so many people expect to be able to have an audience with both of those at the same time. They expect to be able to invite them both into ritual at the same time and work with them at the same time, which doesn't always work out. Sometimes it will do. I think, though, that, again, you've got to build up that connection so that you can actually ask them, look, do you mind being invited into circle with this guy here? Because, you know, it's just... yeah, you don't mix and match like that and expect everything to work out rosy without doing the work behind it all in the first place.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Another question is, does the message come from a question always? So, no. I mean, you don't. I mean, when you're Deity knows what you need. So if you're not asking a question, but you really do need something, your life needs something, you need to go through an experience, and you don't really ask for it, you will still be given information that you need. Like, I don't ask questions often. I do, but there are times when stuff is thrown at me. I'm like, where did this come from? And then I'm like, I do my meditation, or I connect in fairy, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why I need this. I understand this. I didn't want to deal with this at this time, but I do need to deal with this right now. And so I didn't ask to deal with it. I didn't ask a question or any question that was associated with it, but I was given it because I needed it. A lot like tarot readings. When I do tarot readings, I will say, you might ask a question and we can touch it, but basically what comes through is what you need to know right now. And if there's a specific message that you really need to know in your life and you're not asking it, most often your reading will be answered, but then the most important part of that reading is going to be what you actually need to know, the question you didn't ask.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, I mean, I'm terrible for it. I'm terrible for discounting information and just sort of like, no, that's got no relevance right now at all. Got no relevance whatsoever. Which is why I say making notes on anything you do is a really, really important thing. Because, for instance, there was a Lenormand card reading that I did about 3 weeks ago that made no sense to me. It was completely gobbledygook, complete gobbledygook. And I thought, well, you're just not talking sense to me. You're not talking sense to me at all. 3 weeks later, I sat down and revisited that reading. And now that I've known more and I've moved forward more, I'm like, aha! That was answering this, but I had no idea it was answering this because I didn't have the full information yet. So, don't always discount something because it doesn't necessarily fit with what you're thinking or what you're feeling at this moment in time, because it's probably answering the energies that are around you that you don't even know about.
Right. And I guess that kind of goes in with something that was posted in the group today about which is being psychic. Because you do have to be in tune with that information to really pay attention and be aware of all of those details.
Yeah.
So I guess we can, that's something that was interesting. I've noticed that, though. Have you noticed that, like, a lot of practitioners will deny their intuitive or their psychic nature? They're like, I'm not psychic. That's not possible. It's not happening. That's not me.
Yeah.
And it's... I don't know if it's just the word that they're not comfortable with, or they just really believe that they're not psychic, but how can you not be psychic if you are a practitioner? Like, I don't get it.
I think the thing with a lot of words like psychic, like psychic, like medium, like all of these words, they've all been thrown in together and mixed up, like in those little bingo calling ball things. They've all been shoved in here and mixed up together, and the actual original meaning behind the words has been lost. I had a conversation with somebody about a meaning of a word changing over time. And that doesn't happen. The meaning of the word doesn't change over time. It's the perception of people that changes over time, which changes how they perceive that word. And this is what I think it is. This is another damage that the New Age movement has done to the craft, is all of this releasing on how psychic work is completely different. Psychic work is completely separate. You need to work on your psychic self separately from your magical self. All of this has separated it all into these little compartments. And I don't think that people necessarily understand the actual inner meaning of these things, because they have been so compartmentalized over the last 20 odd years that now they're completely separate things. Whereas if you go back 100 years, they were the same thing. If you were a seer 100 years ago, you were a witch. It wasn't a separate thing. If you were psychic, you were a witch. If you were a witch, you were psychic. It all goes in together. And I think that people have forgotten that because it has been so separated over the last 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you, like you said, if you look back, a lot of practitioners, a lot of witches, they communicated with familiar spirits. They communicated with, you know, ghosts, with all kinds of different, you know, entities, beings. And so that requires psychic ability.
Yes.
People, I don't even understand why it's such a hard thing to grasp onto, because that's just in our very nature. There's a lot of people who are very they're very logical and analytical, and they want to be able to put things into little, you know, baskets and be okay with it. They want to be so organized and have a reason for every little thing that I feel that kind of hinders their practice. That hinders magic, because it's not something that needs to be confined.
Yeah.
You know, so a witch is a psychic. A psychic doesn't always have to be a witch, but those of us who do practice magic, we are psychic. We honor those natural instincts. So you really can't separate it. It's not possible, because if you do separate it, if you try and do that, then you're not listening to, you know, the earth spirits. You're not listening to the flow of nature, and you're not listening to energy. You're not feeling it. Because in order to feel it, you have to be in tune somehow.
Yes.
So basically, in order to breathe, you have to be aware of these things.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't necessarily think that it's something that needs working on separately either. It's not something that you have to compartmentalize, because if you work on, say, meditation in your craft so that you can strengthen your craft that way, that automatically strengthens your psychicness as well, because it all links together, it all links in together, which I think is why you have certain people practicing magic who wouldn't call themselves witches, because they've learned crystal energies or psychic healing or all of these different things that have been separated off, when actually if you look at the bare bones of it, it's all the craft. And I think that people have forgotten that as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That's actually not something that I've contemplated a lot, but now that you mention it, I can see it. Because all of that is a part of what we do, but not a lot of people want to honor the full aspect of it. So they practice something, and it's cool, but they practice something that is a little watered down because they're only touching an aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically, you can't be a craft practitioner and not be psychic. That's what I'll say.
I would agree with that. And I noticed you touched on plant familiars then. There is a talk at Hexfest that I am so looking forward to, and that's Christopher Penzak on working with plant familiars in your craft and connecting with plant familiars, because this is something else that's come up recently, is that plants don't have spirits. You don't connect with the spirit of an herb when you're making magic. You don't connect with the spirit of a herb when you're doing mojo bags or incense or anything like that. It's just the power of the herb that works, which it doesn't add up for me at all, because at the end of the day, you know, look at lavender, for instance. Lavender, there's a list like this long of different uses for lavender, and some of them are conflicting uses. So, of course, to get the herb to do what you want it to do, you need to connect with its energies, you need to put your intention into it and tell it what part of the lavender plant you want to embody for this particular task. And again, it's people denying the raw primal power that is involved in what we do, in nature spirits, in plant familiars, in plant spirits, in all of this. And I am so excited for this talk by Christopher Penzak. It's going to be incredible. I'm just sat here like, I want it to be 2015 already.
It is. It's good. I'm looking forward to it. Like, now that they have the website up for Hexfest, I'm excited. I am very excited, and it's gonna be fun. I just hope that we don't miss out on some of the awesome stuff. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of awesome stuff. We're gonna have to miss out on a few things because they have 3 classes or 3 workshops going on at once. I don't know. We'll manage. We'll find out a way to be there for the ones that we really, really have to. I want to Sar Casas. I don't know his last name, but Sar, she has a few that I want to attend.
Mhm.
But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But if you haven't seen the Hexfest page, look it up. It's gonna be fun in New Orleans, August 2015.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll be there.
3 days of fantasticness, and the riverboat cruise, and it's all just, yes, I can't wait. It's going to be incredible. And yeah, so many talks that just a wealth of information. You can never learn enough.
We want a lot of our deviant witches out there, deviant witches and our minions.
Which we have currently. I don't see how we do have minions, but apparently we do. So, you know, come on, let us meet you, minions of ours.
I have one, and he is a ginger, and he's not that old. But, he's most likely smarter than a lot of people here. But what else was going on that we wanted to talk about? Word universe and speed. Okay, so let's see. Someone else, actually the same person, who's asking another question. The word universe seems to be being split by folks lately. They think it's in parts. Maybe that wasn't really a question, but a statement.
No, and I agree with that. They kind of, people do split. They split everything. I don't understand this apparent human need to compartmentalize everything into these little black and white segments, and leave no room for grey areas at all. You know, because everything's not black and white. There's different aspects to everything, and I've noticed that more and more, that people are just compartmentalizing exactly what they want to compartmentalize, and ignoring the other things that go along with what they've compartmentalized, because it doesn't fit into their little neat bubble.
Right. Let's see. What else? I mean, they said stop smoking. Do yoga for the stress. It is what it is.
I think.
Does craft mean masons as well? Honestly, when we say craft, we're talking about witchcraft,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's kind of what we're geared towards. Craft can mean anything to anyone, but when we speak craft, what we're talking about is witchcraft, occult, magical, um, that aspect. I don't really know anything about the Masons, so I cannot comment on that.
Yeah, no, I'm not too sure. I think there's rituals and stuff in the Masons, so I guess that is a form of the craft. No, that in the Freemasons, and I'm not sure. I don't. That's not a knowledge area for me, really.
Nor I. There was a question that I thought would help quite a few people. It's a basic question, but um, someone asked in a group that I was in about how to bless and enchant a candle, and do you do so differently for different colors? So that's something that we can kind of talk about a little bit, because I've been asked that quite a few times recently. So why not? Let's tackle that one.
Yeah. How do you enchant a candle?
Well, honestly, it just depends. It depends on my intent, like what the work that I'm doing. Because obviously, I'm not going to do the same thing if I'm pissed off versus if I'm working on something that's for attraction, for love, for money. But the basics really is I ground and center, and I call up energy, um, and I focus it in my hands. I focus it like right here, and then I'll get the candle, and I will bring that energy into the candle. I'll infuse it. And sometimes I'll do that with Reiki. I'll do that with healing energy if I'm doing healing work. And the colors, I will program. Like if I need something for calming, I'll get a candle for that, and I will program it. And again, I use my hands a lot, so I will bring energy, and I will just kind of like bring it down, bring it into the candle, and I'll rub it. I'll roll it in my hand. I will sometimes I'll chant, and I will kind of pour that work into the candle, because I don't make my own yet. But so when I do bring them from the store, I will program it. I will infuse my energy, and I'll bring down energy. Sometimes from the moon, I'll bring that down and place it into the candle. That's kind of how I do that. I mean, it's really simple. And then I'll get oil, and then I'll anoint and dress the candle. But that again just depends on the work that I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't really have very much exciting things to add to that, because I pretty much just do the same. Herbs, I like surrounding the candle once I've put all of the energy into it that I need to put into it. I like surrounding it with herbs that also contain the similar energies for what I'm working towards. So, if I'm, for instance, doing a prosperity ritual, I will usually put a sigil underneath the candle, as well as the herbs around the candle, rolled in the candle, and on the wick as well, so that those herbs are burning down with the candle. I don't really use candles on their own. I tend to always put them into a more elaborate ritual unless I haven't got any supplies. Recently, over the last 6 weeks, I've had to get back to basics, because all of my stuff is in boxes. I've got minimal crystals. I've got no herbs at all. I've had 4 white candles, so I had no colours to work with, nothing, no oils, no herbs, nothing at all. So it's been quite nice, because I've had to get back to the raw essence of what it is that we do, and I personally think that everybody should do it once in a while. Everybody should lock away all of their fancy tools and their fancy supplies that they've got, and really get back to working with the raw energies, because what I have noticed is you have to put so much more into your workings when you haven't got all of the fancy stuff to go with it, when you haven't got the herbs to add different energies, when you haven't got things to attract more energies and infuse it with more energies, you have to work that much harder. And I think that that's good practice for anybody, actually.
Yeah, it's almost like those detoxes people do every few months. It's kind of like that would be an awesome thing to do. And I do it. I don't do it often, but I do it from time to time. I'll stop using tools and I'll just work with myself. And an awesome thing is if you do work with spirits, like if you work with an herb spirit a lot, you don't need that herb per se. You can contact that spirit and focus that and work with it to achieve your results.
Yeah.
And that is a cool thing. And like you said, it is a little more challenging because you do have to kind of push out a little more to connect, because you have to really hold on to all those things. But it's not impossible.
No, it's not.
I think that's a good foundation for practitioners. I think it's really important for all of us to do.
Yeah.
So we don't get too comfortable working with these tools, and one day we might not have them, and then what then? I've seen so many people attach their tools so badly that they don't know how to craft when they don't have them, and that's sad. That really is sad, because if you have a need and you need to do something right then and there, you don't have anything and you don't know how to do it. You really should train yourself to be able to do that without all of these lovely tools.
I think that comes down a lot to self-belief as well. Going back to talking about getting slaps around the head, it's about 3 weeks ago now, I got a big slap around my head that at the end of the day, you work with the energies that are in the universe. You don't work with candles, you don't work with that, you work with something that is unseen. And as long as you can hold that belief in yourself that it really is you with the power and not the tools with the power, you can do it. And I think this is what a lot of people forget. They put so much stock into the herbs, the candles, the crystals, all of it, that they forget that actually the power conduit is you. You're the catalyst for the power in the first place. These things just add to it and help you with your goal.
Right, and I think people assume, like for me, when I say I like using tools, or tools are necessary for some things, it's not necessarily the physical tool itself. It's the spiritual essence of that tool, which, like I said, can be tapped into if you don't have it, especially if you have a firm connection with it, which is why it's important to definitely use the tools and work with them, but you have to understand that you're working with a spirit. With the energy. And so when you don't have that tool, you are comfortable enough to, I can call on that spirit, I can call on that energy, because I know what it's like to work with it. I don't have to have it here physically. I know, and like you said, you are the worker, you are the one who is putting it into place. So you call it, you tie it all together, you make it happen.
Yeah.
But who knows? Yeah. And obviously, you of all people know right now how best to do it, because you're working with limited resources at the moment, and you're still making things happen.
Yeah. I've got no books. I've got nothing. So I'm literally going on what I've learned over the past 17 years. Which again is why I say to people, do as much research as you can, read as many books as you can, see as many teachers as you can, take as many courses as you can. This isn't something that you can invest in for a year and then know everything and just coast along. And it's fine if you want to do that. I'm not saying that that's a problem if you want to just coast on what you know. However, if you keep adding to that and you keep studying and you keep going to different places and reading different books, if you get yourself into a position like this, you know everything already. It's already in here, and you just need to re-access it. I don't flap that I haven't got all of my books here, because I know that if I sit down quietly enough and I concentrate enough, I can recall most of the information that I have already learned and learn new things. You know, there's been new things that I have learned over the last 6 weeks because I haven't had my books to fall back on, because I haven't had other things to fall back on. I've had to know things from myself.
Right, it's building and you know, I've known people who have practiced for 6 months, and they have far more experience, far more knowledge than some people who practice 2 years. So, and it's not really the length of time that you practice, it is what you do in that time that states everything. I mean, if you copy and paste and you're cookie cutter practitioner, you're not going to have that like well-rounded experience to fall back on in these situations, because you don't really know. You're not taking that information and making it your own. But there are practitioners who have, like I said, not been there long enough, who can definitely do it. Because they have passion, they know what they want, and they have done the research. They've wrote down notes, and they have that to fall back on. So it really isn't like you could be on your path for 10 years and know nothing.
Yeah.
Versus 6 months and know far more than someone on 10 years. Time means nothing. It's what you do within that time. It's the experiences that you have created and endured.
Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, the dog. Yeah. Got any more questions over here?
I think they're all from the same person, and they have left the building.
They have. Okay. I'm trying to think of what I have seen over the past few days, because I had lots that I wanted to answer, and I now can't actually think about what I wanted to answer.
Well, while you're thinking of that answer, why don't you talk about our project that we're wanting to, that you brought up last night, that we want to start, giving them an ingredient and having them research it and progress that into a spell that we will do.
Yes, yeah. Well, we were thinking that we're going to add a real-life witchery column to the end of the show. The last sort of 5-10 minutes of the show will be dedicated to a group ritual, a group spell, whatever you want to call it, where we will give you, at the end of the show, say 3 items to gather together. We're not actually going to tell you what we're going to use them for until the 3rd show. And then on the 4th show, we'll show you how to put it all together and how to do what we're going to do. And then we're going to get you to give us how it's worked and how it's worked for you, and if it did work for you, if you changed anything, if that worked better for you. And we think it will be a really, really good way of starting to work with everybody and actually changing stuff.
Yeah, and that's funny because someone posted on Facebook, and I think it was Stephanie, and something about, I can't remember, something about change. And if you want change, then you have to go for it. You can't just expect and wait for people to change things. You have to really make it happen. And I think that's my hope for this. It's I don't want to just talk out my ass and just waste my time here, because this is 2 hours of our time. Mm-hmm. I want people to benefit from our conversations. I want people to take something and allow it to challenge them, or if it pisses them off, allow it to piss them off, but maybe it will better them in some way.
Yeah.
So with this project, I think will be really good because it helps people associate all these things with the ingredients, and then it shows them how to put it into motion in their life. And then if we have these people, if we have everyone on board and they're practicing, then they're sending all that out into the universe. They're creating for themselves, and they're making their life better. It's only going to be better because of it. So I think I'm glad that you brought this up, because I think it's a really good, really fun project.
Yeah, kind of experiments as well, really. And I love seeing how other people will take information and utilize it and put it to work. You know, one thing that a lot of people will notice with me is I don't tend to write spells out. I don't tend to plan what I'm going to say, because I say it in the moment. I say whatever the energy is. I know what I'm going to do, of course. I've got my intentions and I know what my end result I want to be. But I won't write out these long-winded chants and rituals and all of this, because I think personally, for me, it works better when I just go with the flow. And for things for my Book of Shadows and things that I want to keep, I actually record myself when I do it. I record myself on my phone when I do it, so that I know what I said and how I phrased it, so that I can work on that in the future, so that I can change it if it doesn't quite work properly, and all of that. But I think too many people rely on something written out for them, when actually it comes from in here. It doesn't come from a bit of paper. That bit of paper with these specially rhymed words doesn't contain any power. And I think people forget that.
Yeah, I mean, and if people want to go by a format that's given, that's awesome. But don't. I find it more powerful, stronger. I find a better connection if I can memorize it. If I am going to use something, if I can memorize it. I do a lot of my work like you. You know, I will have everything that I need, but the actual words will not come out until that moment.
Yeah.
But there are times where I do use other people's work, and I do my best to have it all memorized, because if you get a piece of paper and you're like reading, you lose connection.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're going through the motions, and that's not strong. That's not really that powerful, because part of your brain is like trying to read, but another part of you is trying to be off in, you know, the metaphysical, the spiritual, and trying to create something. You're kind of all over the place, and doesn't make for a powerful working.
No, exactly, because you're half in reality and half where you need to be. You know, if you're constantly having to go back to a piece of paper to read what you've got to do next, then you're not fully in that place where the magic happens, as cheesy as that sounds.
Yeah. I guess going back to ethics, you know, I was just something that just popped into my head. I have a lot of people, like, someone will ask for, like, revenge, or to get back at someone who really, really hurt them, physically, emotionally, abuse them. And then you have all these people who throw out harm none, tenfold, threefold, 12-fold, ninefold, all these laws. It's not really helping the person, because that's not what they're asking for.
Yeah.
You know, so, and don't allow your ethics to be placed on another person without getting to know what they really need.
Yeah.
It's rude. It's rude to just automatically judge someone like that. Just say, hey, and not even you're not even being helpful. Why don't you just not speak?
Yeah. Well, what I find quite funny is so many people will complain about other religions forcing on their ideas of hell, their ideas of the fact that we're going to burn for eternity because of what we believe, and all of this stuff. You know, they have real trouble when somebody throws that in their face. But for some reason, in the magical community, in the spiritual community, it's fine to do that. It's absolutely fine to jump on somebody and say, well, no, because if you do that, then you're going to have it returned 10 times to you. If you cast a spell for prosperity, your granddad's going to die 2 days later and leave you a load of money. It's all of this stuff that, do you know what, if, you know, just for argument's sake, if a Christian came into our group and started talking about how we're all going to go to hell and everything else, everybody's going to jump on that and say, well, no, hang on a second, you can't force your beliefs onto us like that. But for some reason, people in the spiritual community think that it's fine to force their viewpoints on other people in the spiritual community, which I can't get my head around that. That's just as bad as somebody coming in and saying you're wrong for doing this and you're going to burn for eternity for doing this.
Right.
It's the same mentality in my eyes.
I mean, it is. It's the same thing. It's just, you know, different wording, but it's the exact same thing. I don't get it. I don't understand why people feel the need to do that. I mean, there's a way to say it. Like, if you have a strong belief that it is going to come back to you, or it might come back to that person, then express it that way. Express that this is your belief, this is how you feel. Express in a better way than saying, basically, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
You know? Find a way to say what your feelings, your beliefs, that is going to be a little more constructive than attacking someone or trying to bring them down, because these people are already in a specific mood. They're already not in a good place because of what has happened to them.
Yeah.
So they don't need you telling them that, basically, like you said, they're going to hell because they're evil devil worshippers. Over and over. They don't need you to be telling them that. They need assistance. And I said this before, if you can't assist them with what they're seeking, use something that is in your practice that might be a benefit to them.
Yeah. And if you really do feel the need to throw out, you know, certain ethics that you hold, then make sure that you say, this is personal to me, this is my personal beliefs. However, and then go on to what you're going to say, because at the end of the day, if it's the whole being empathetic to somebody else's feelings, to how somebody else is feeling at that time. You know, if somebody has got the confidence to come up in a group of 800 people and ask a question, to have suddenly, again, it's this pack mentality that happens. As soon as one person says it, I've noticed on so many threads in so many different groups, one person will say something about the threefold law, and then you've got 70 people behind that person saying about the threefold law. And this person may have already said, I don't believe in any of this threefold law or anything like that, and people don't listen. They still jump on and have that Pac-Man mentality of threefold law, tenfold law, this, that, this, that, this, that, and it's just sort of, it's dogmatic, and I don't like the way that this dogma is increasing in the craft. That's something that I've noticed. I thought it was bad when I first came into the pagan community sort of 10 years ago, and it has got increasingly worse and increasingly worse, and over the last year and a half, it's a minefield. You've got so much of it that it's insane.
It's yeah. And it just seems to be increasing and intensifying so much, and I think that's why it's important for discussions like these. You know, they're not always going to be like educational or specific. It's going to be all over the place, but we're talking about it so other people can discuss it and other people feel comfortable discussing it. I have had a lot of strong experiences in fairy, you know, my fairy training lately, and a lot of what has been said to me, even just a lot of stuff that's been said to me is that I'm a voice for those who cannot speak. You know, I speak on behalf of those who cannot speak. And that doesn't always mean actual people. It's for spirits. It's for deity. You know, when beings come to me with something, or I see something, I will voice myself the way I see fit, or the way that it should be expressed through me. And I think people need to understand that they should be able to do that too. If they don't have a voice, which they do, everyone has a voice, but if they don't feel comfortable in their voice, they don't feel strong enough, they should speak to someone and allow someone else to speak on their behalf.
Yes, yeah.
You know, but definitely speak to someone, because you shouldn't have to like feel attacked. You shouldn't have to feel that someone is harassing you or stalking you. You should just feel comfortable enough to talk to someone, talk about it, express it, and allow the other person, maybe they'll speak to someone else. Maybe they'll speak up for you. Not that you can't do it yourself, but you don't feel comfortable. But always communicate. And I think it's important for things like this to happen so people understand that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge thing. We have to. A lot of people just let things slide, like whatever, let it slide. Just it is what it is. I'm not going to cause a scene. And it's not about causing a scene. It's about standing up for your beliefs, standing strong in who you are, and not allowing people to take and bastardize you.
Mm-hmm.
So the more of us that speak up, the more of us that talk about our craft, about being strong in our craft, about practicing real craft, the more other people, more new people will understand it, and they will benefit from it because all they see is what is dominant right now. What is dominant right now is all of the watered down, safe stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, it goes back to, personally, I thank the New Age movement so much because it has brought the craft to the forefront, and the watered down versions was needed 20 years ago to be able to get this to the forefront and to have people allow it to become mainstream. However, with it becoming mainstream, it has become so watered down, and people seem to be worried about stepping into their full power. And I quite like what Prairie has said. I think the threefold or tenfold laws came in because someone wanted to restrict how witches work. Instead of allowing them to work to their full potential, they have limited them with fear. And I agree with that personally. I think that is a definite possibility. You go back to the days of World War II, I think it was, and Winston Churchill fought for, if I'm correct, I'm sure it was Winston Churchill, he fought for the witchcraft laws to be repealed because he utilised witches in the United Kingdom, and the legend goes that they raised up a fog around the coastline that was so thick that the Nazis could not land. And that stopped the Nazis from getting into the UK. Now, that is utilising the true power that we have when we put our minds to it, when we are actually allowed to step into our full power and not be limited by these fear-based subjects. The whole free will thing and how you shouldn't mess with somebody's free will. It's impossible not to mess with somebody's free will when you're working the craft. It's impossible to, because at the end of the day, you cast a spell to find yourself a job. You haven't cast that spell intending to hurt somebody, but by you casting that, you could take the job from somebody else who also needs that job. And it's this insanity that keeps us down in these little compartmentalized boxes that stops us from reaching what we're really capable of.
Right, and I also agree with what she stated. I do believe that. I believe for whatever reason, all of these laws are meant to hold people back. They're meant to keep us down and keep people disempowered. They're very disenchanting too. It's like these laws and these things make us feel bad. If we do something or we step out of line, they are programmed to make us feel very weak or sad or bad. They do not promote uplifting, empowering energies. They promote this very lethargic, very gross frequency. And they do. These laws make people feel like shit. They do. Because practitioners are very powerful. People are powerful. But they're so trained to not feel powerful or to feel guilty about being powerful that they don't understand what they can do, and when they do something, they usually overdo it or
Mhm.
they lash out in a negative way. So when they do something that is in full power, they go against a lot of things and it makes them feel even worse because they are not taught how to safely work within their own power. And I
Mm.
think that is important for witches to do is we need to feel comfortable in expressing who we are. We need to practice and be able to be strong. Um, and the more we express that, the more we talk about it, the better people will be, the more comfortable people will be in owning their power. And when we do that, these laws and stuff will kind of fade away and
Yeah.
we won't have this negative association with them.
Mhm.
Um, but they're very fear based, and that at times it can be beneficial. You know, some people need that for a certain time, but we need to learn to come out of it, to grow from it, and
Mhm.
not allow it to hold us back.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well that you should be, you should have those human morals that stops you from doing anything completely evil and nasty just for the sake of doing something evil and nasty in the first place. You know,
Absolutely.
this is the other thing that's always got me about the what you put out will be returned and all of this fear-based stuff around the craft. To me, it's a very Christian concept. It's a concept that I am not capable of being a nice person on my own. I need a
Right.
list of laws to be a nice person and to be a good person. And that kind of pisses me off a little bit actually when somebody says, and I've had people say to me, but if you don't follow the Wiccan Read, how are you staying on track? You know, if you don't follow that, then why aren't you completely evil? And I'm like, because I'm not an evil person. You know,
Right.
I don't need somebody else to tell me you can't do this, this, and this, because I know that I shouldn't be doing that, and that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't understand why people are crazy about it because you don't need laws to tell you to be a good person.
Mhm.
It baffles the mind. Like, if you need a law to tell you how to be a good person or that you need to do something right, then you're already fucked to begin with.
Exactly, exactly. You know,
And
I don't need a law that says I can't murder somebody because I wouldn't go out and murder somebody anyway. And it's like it's that concept really. And it's the same with this whole personal gain stuff and not casting for personal gain and you know, oh no, I need to suffer this because it's obviously a life lesson that I need to learn and all of these I say they're misconceptions because I truly believe that they are misconceptions. And, you know, whenever we've had talks about personal gain in the past, shush! Um, 2 seconds. Stop it.
yeah,
Come on. Right, that way. Come on, out. Out. Right. Um, yeah, with the whole personal gain stuff, I personally see it as an affront to my power and to the deities and the energies that I work with to not cast to get myself out of a situation, to not cast to get myself out of serious money worries, to not cast to, I don't know, get myself out of any sort of situation. You know, I see that as it's something that is kind of kicking a gift horse in the mouth. You know, you if you've been given the means to do something about your life, then use those means. You know, we're not monks.
right.
We haven't taken a vow of poverty and a vow of misery and all of this to be able to walk this path. You know, we've been given things to make our lives better, and the universe is completely abundant. We're not going to take away from somebody else because we're making our life better.
Right. Yeah, on the personal gain thing, something was said the other day. This person was like, they were told that if they were to work for personal gain, it would be better and stronger if they worked on someone else's behalf versus their own. And I was just like, what? You yourself have the desire, you have the need, you have the strong link. So it'd make more sense that you casting for yourself would be more powerful than you casting for someone you don't know, because you don't have that link to them. You can build it, yes, of course, but if you need something, then cast for it. I've had so many people go through that, like they need something, they need a job, or they want new love, they want something, and they won't cast for it because they're scared. They're scared that something's going to happen, or that they're going to violate some like universal law where you can't help yourself. And it's like, no, no, no. The craft, we've always used craft work to help ourselves. That's why it was created. It was born out of that need, that desire for something better. So personal gain is just, or not being able to do stuff because of personal gain is bullshit.
Yeah.
If you need something, do the work. Just like, if you need a job, you're going to go get a haircut, you're going to go look good, you're going to go apply for jobs, right? So if you're going to do that, then back it up with your craft. Why wouldn't you be able to do that? You should. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't understand why people think that it's wrong.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out and do the mundane things to get what you want, then follow it up with the spiritual, the emotional, the metaphysical things to really feel it and get it.
Yeah.
You're not going against some huge law that is going to say, you've messed up, you're done.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
And I think as well, if it's not working, say you cast to get yourself a job and it's not working, it doesn't necessarily mean that the spell's not working. It probably means that you're not listening properly. It goes back to what was said earlier on about how you know when it's yourself talking and how you know when it's deity talking or spirit talking or the universe talking or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So many people will cast and then get really, really discouraged because nothing seems to be coming from it. But that's because they have closed their mind so much around what should come from it. Right. And it won't necessarily work like that because, the powers that we use and the powers that we utilize, they work on an innate need rather than our conscious need. What we think that we want and what we think that we need might not necessarily be what's going on underneath the surface. So if something's not working, go back to it and look at how you've closed your mind around it. Right. For instance, I have been job hunting now for 6 weeks. I've gone to interview after interview after interview. Yes. After interview after interview after interview, and some of them have gone really well, some of them have gone completely wrong. And I sort of sat here and I thought, well, it should have happened by now. I've done workings, it should have happened by now. So I cast my net wider and I look at a different area and I get the first interview that I go for. And I get it within 10 minutes. And this is the thing, you really, again, it's about knowing yourself and about really, really trusting in yourself and in your magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's funny that you mentioned that because I always felt that you were meant to be where you're going to be. Yeah. So when you said you got the job there, I was like, I know. Yeah. I knew it was going to happen. Like, once you were ready to open to that part, I was like, I had no doubt. I knew. It's funny because just watching it from the outside, I'm like, I know that was going to happen. And it's funny to see things like that manifest because it just confirms your practice. It confirms that we need to open up more. We need to stop limiting our focus. And again, like when spells go wrong or if they don't work at all, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not working. It's just they might take longer to work because of your beliefs. Your, so many different things. But I believe our beliefs have a huge impact on it. Like if you, like they say, it goes, magic travels at least resistance. So if it's something that's going to be least resistant, it's going to go that way. But if you have all these blocks in your way, and if you have a specific belief that it has to manifest a certain way, then it most likely will. But it's going to take forever for it to happen, and that's why it might not happen. Or like when you're 60, you might get what you asked for when you were 20, because
Yeah.
finally you're aligned correctly for it to manifest. Which is another reason why you should use divination, and you should start checking in with your workings. Like, how is it going? What can I do to boost the process? How do I open myself to it? Different things.
Yeah, it's not always as simple as saying a few words and lighting a few candles and sprinkling a few herbs. Sometimes things do work on a longer time scale, which again, I think it's, I can't remember if it was a question in our group or a question in another group about putting a time limit on something. In fact, no, it was a video that I watched about servitors and making sure that you give, when you create a servitor to do a task for you, to give them an actual time limit. Because if you don't, it can take years.
Right.
It can take years and years and years and years for all of the energies to align for what you need. So that's something else that you need to put in. And I know that's something that you've always been very, very strong with, is not limiting a spell. So if you're doing a spell for prosperity, for instance, so many people will say, right, I want a spell for prosperity, but I want it to come this way. And they limit how it comes. Whereas, you might get a free holiday. You might get a free car. You might win a competition. Right. You might, there's so many different ways that the universe can send what you want to you. When you close your question and you close the avenues for it to come, that's when it takes time and time and time and time, because all of the different energies around you has to be correct for that particular avenue to work.
Right. Yeah. And it is. It's just, I don't know. I totally lost train of thought. I was going to say something, and I'm like, whoop. It like totally left the building. No joke. It's gone. But a lot of people have issues like in writing spells, like writing their own spells. Oh, sorry. Now I can go back. I know what I was going to say. In Theta Healing, we were taught this manifestation technique, and we have so much stuff that we manifest, or we unconsciously, we don't know, or subconsciously we don't know. We manifest so much stuff, and we ask for so much stuff, and we don't really think it's real. So we have all these things that we want from childhood that we've never really seen or didn't have, and it's all built up. So just think of this space that has all of the things you've ever wanted just built up. And so when you do a spell, that has to go through that. So if you can go back and kind of pop all these bubbles and just clear that, it'd be like clear your beliefs, It makes it easier to manifest. So that's why you have to watch your spellcraft too. You have to see it through, because if you don't, you might forget about it, and then you don't realize it didn't manifest, it didn't come true. You should really go back and check on it and see what's going on, and maybe even clear it out. Just get rid of it, because it's stored for later use. It's stored for maybe, like I said, down the road when you're older, it's easier to come to be. So, and if you do go in and clear all that stuff, if you get rid of all those old manifestations or those old wishes or old spells, if you kind of sort of clear your space of that, your new working is going to be a lot, maybe not faster, but it's just going to run smoother.
Yeah, because it's not going to have all of these bubbles to pop through to be able to. It's going to have a clear road, whereas it's like a traffic jam. If you go in peak traffic, you're going to be sat in traffic for hours trying to get to where you need to go. Whereas if you choose to go at a time where there's no traffic at all, it's going to be much, much smoother and a much, much kinder journey.
Yeah, and it's just important for people to see that, for people to understand that, because I think when you see it that way, you get a better understanding of how to work your magic, how to work your spell, and really how to believe, or what to believe, and what to follow through with. Another issue that I see a lot of people have, which we're going to talk a lot more about it in the book that we are producing, is how to write a spell. I have a lot of people who are afraid to write a spell, or they don't know exactly what to do when they write spells. They just have a lot of challenges with it. So, do you have any tips, anything that you want to say that might make it easier for people to create their own work?
Mm. Mm. It's go with the flow. It really, really is. It's do your research. Do as much research as you can. Look into the positive and the negative research on something. And also do your own research. Really sit with what you're going to be working with and get to know it. Don't just go and choose some dried herbs off of the shelf because this book says that that's what you need for it, because it might not work with you like that. Same with the energy of crystals. The crystal energy in books is all written down. It's all there in black and white. But for instance, it will work with me differently than it will work with you, and it links with everybody's energies differently. I liken it to perfume. Now, you know how you can have a perfume that smells absolutely amazing on a friend, absolutely amazing, and you're like, yes, I need to get that perfume, and you spray that perfume on, and it smells like cat wee. You're walking around like you've sat in a litter tray for 4 hours.
That's not good.
It's not at all, and that's because the oils in the perfume interact with your skin differently, and your pH balances of your skin is different for every single person. So it's going to give you a slightly different scent for every single person that puts it on. And it's the same when you're working with herbs, with oils, with crystals, with all of this. It's going to interact with your energies slightly differently, which is why meditation with your items is so important. Again, it goes back to knowing yourself and putting the time and energy into your craft. I don't think that enough people realise really how much time and energy goes into strengthening your craft. So many people are sort of like, well, yeah, it's, I do it when I've got time to do it, once a week maybe, and all of that sort of stuff. And I know that we've had discussions with people where they're sort of like, but how do you live and breathe your craft? And it's something that you can't really explain because it's just natural to do that.
Right. Yeah. I think for people who want to write their own spells, get a piece of paper, write down your what is your need, what is your desire, write it down, write your focus. Okay? That's the most important thing. Write your focus down, what do you need, and then go and look up herbs and crystals, or just look up something that is associated with that. Start kind of piecing it together, and don't just look through books, but like you said, meditate with the herb. If you want self-love, go to rose quartz, and then get the rose quartz, see how you connect with it, see how you feel with it, and that might inspire you to write something down that will help with your spell. And if you're worried about writing, don't feel like you have to rhyme. You do not have to rhyme. Just speak out, write it down, rough draft it, whatever, but just write what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's not complex. It's really simple. And then always program everything for your work.
Yeah.
So if you want self-love and you use rose quartz, you better program that rose quartz for the work that you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think as well, with what you said because I lost my train of thought in the last little bit that I did, and I went completely off somewhere. But yeah, when you're writing a spell down, that is the first thing that you have to do, is you have to get your intention completely clear within yourself. Even if it's not completely clear when you write it down, as long as you know within yourself exactly what your final result you want it to be. Because I've seen so many people ask for a spell for this, and then you delve into it a little bit more, and actually what they want is a million miles away from what they were going to cast for.
Yep.
And it goes back to knowing yourself and knowing your craft and knowing what you are really asking for. Because if you write a spell that is asking for this, but you really want this, you're not going to be satisfied with the outcome.
And that happens that pisses me off, because that happens so much, and people, they think that if they get this, it will lead them to this, but why don't you just try and get this first? Like, you don't need to go over here if you can just go directly to here. Over here might be easier. And I had that happen so many times. Like, I'm in a consultation with someone, and I'm helping them find what they want to do, and I'm spending a lot of time with them, and like you said, they want this thing, and come to find out, they actually want this over here, but in their head, they think if they get this, it's going to bring the other to them. And no, those things aren't linked. So it really is about finding the core of what you really, really want, and be honest with yourself. I mean, again, writing your own spells is not. It's not complex. It does not. It can be. It doesn't have to be. So don't. If you're first starting to write your stuff, just make it simple. You know, keep it to like 3 ingredients, 3, 5. Don't get this long list of stuff that you need. Just make it simple, and start working with that. And the more that you trust yourself in writing, the more that you build that, then you can start adding more things. But just do a simple working, you know? Don't try and make it this lengthy, you know, Bible-long working. I mean, really, that's not necessary.
No. No, it's fun to do sometimes, you know? It is fun to do elaborate rituals and, you know, have specific coloured cloaks and specific ribbons and specific this and specific that, but it's really not necessary for every single thing you want to do. And I think a lot of people overcomplicate it that way. They completely overcomplicate it, and they get the message mixed up when they cast the spell because of all of this busyness that is around them. And if you focus on the busyness of a ritual, you're going to lose the focus on the intent of the ritual. And I think that a lot of people get that confused as well.
Yeah. People just get confused, period.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to close up fairly soon. So is there anything like that you wanted to say that's on your mind that we haven't talked about yet? For me, I guess I just want to reiterate that to be professional does not mean you have to talk like a boring person. Just because we say fuck and we bitch about shit and we rant does not mean that we're not professional. You know, you don't have to be just very uptight and just boring. Yes, you don't have to be like that.
No.
To be considered professional. And I don't know. I mean, we're not conservative. We're very, very blunt. We're not going to be PC. If you want someone to coddle you, then this is not going to be the show for you. And we've stated that. It's just bullshit. We talk how it is. And if people don't appreciate that, then they can find something else to appreciate. That's cool.
Yeah.
But we also still have our contest going on. We need 500 YouTube subscribers. And if you subscribe, connect with us, talk with us, you know, tell us what you want to see, tell us, you know, about yourself. Just talk to us, and that will enter you to win a specific poppet created by Mrs. Audley, which her poppets are awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, they are. I'm like, I want 2 more, and I'm like, no, not right now.
No, I've got 2 more that I need to get because they came to me in a dream.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and so I need to get those. I've got to get some bloody money and a house and stuff first, so I'm trying to prioritise at the moment, which is really, really hard. But yeah, I think for me as well, I just wanted to touch on what you said, the fact that I've seen a few people watch a few minutes of this and make massive assumptions based on a few minutes slot of what they've seen. Now, people that are in the group, people that interact with us in the group, see a completely different side to what we see when we're doing this, because we started this with the concept and with the wish that it was real. It was three friends talking, you know, when we're all here together. It's three of us talking about things that have pissed us off in the week that we've seen dotted everywhere, you know, and how we feel that could be changed to better everybody's craft. You know, that's why we started these shows, was just to get a little bit of realness out there. If you come into the group, we delve into it more, and that's where you see the professionalism, because we're not politically correct. You know, like you said, we do swear, we do giggle, you know, we do things that are probably a little bit inappropriate. Oh well.
What happened?
Oh well. You know, and I think that's really kind of upset me over the last few weeks, is the fact that so many people are making assumptions over a really, really small fraction of what it is that we do, because this is a tiny fraction of what it is that we do. And like we say, this was born out of a need to rant and get certain things off of our chest. And it's growing into something different, and it will continue to grow, but we're always going to rant. We're always going to have little things that completely drive us fucking insane that we need to get out. And at the end of the day, yeah, in the group, we are professional. You know, we do have a sense of professionalism. If we have an issue with somebody in the magical community, we will take it to them. We won't snide about other people. We don't snipe about other names at all. You know, you will never see us raising names. You'll never see us attacking somebody on a public page. You will never see us doing things like this, because that is the professionalism that we talk about. It's not calling somebody out in public and completely trying to make a mockery of them. It's taking it behind the scenes and working through any issues that have arisen. That's professionalism, you know, and I think that we're quite good at that, and it's quite upsetting to see that so many other people aren't very good at that.
It is. It's frustrating, but I know you're absolutely right when you express it that way. And when we do have issues with people, we don't name names. We will talk about it like in general on the show, because a lot of people are going to experience that. You know, a lot of people are going to go through that. And if something I go through, something you go through, something a friend goes through that we're speaking on behalf of, if we can bring that here and we can talk about it and we can just kind of air it out, we know that a lot of other people are going through the same thing. And so if we're dealing with it, we can help them deal with it too by talking about it here. And it's not going into specifics. It's not going into, you know, trying to bring someone down or trying to bring this person, or that situation, or my manager, or your manager, or it's not about that. It's about talking about the general aspect of it, the situation that happened, a situation that hurt, or a situation that is just annoying, and discussing it so people can also, you know, get a grasp for that, and if they're going through the same thing, they will understand that they're not alone and that they can deal with it just like we're dealing with it, and you don't have to be petty or catty. You can just, you know, tackle it. Yeah, that's just kind of how it is. That's what we do. And if people don't like it, that's cool. You don't like it, just don't go do your thing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we are a bit much for some people. I get that. You know, us three, we have really, really strong personalities. Like you said at the beginning of the show, we attract that to ourselves because we are that. You know, we have got strong opinions, we have got strong personalities, so of course the people that we attract are also going to have strong opinions and strong personalities. That doesn't mean that we're nasty people. That doesn't mean that we are horrible people and we are bullies and all of this sort of stuff. It just means that we are opinionated people.
Yeah.
And you're either going to agree with us or not agree with us, and that's fine.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know. It's frustrating to think that people have this assumption and they don't really fully know. It's like I have this passion. We all have this passion to our community, to the magical community, to witchcraft itself. You know, we have this desire to promote strong and amazing, powerful witches. We have so much heart, so much passion to do this, and yet some people just want to assume and piss on it. And it's like, that's not who we are. You know, we might be very strong in what we say, and you might not like it. That is cool. But don't try and make it seem like I have no passion or no heart for this community.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is, you know, it is what it is. But we will continue to do these shows as best as we can, and we will continue to rant, and nothing is going to stand in our way because we have a mission, we have a focus, and we have fun doing this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we also have the group, so if anyone wants to check out our group, we'll post it in the comments.
Yeah.
And the YouTube channel, and come check us out. You know, we're fun. We discuss anything. Basically, it's deviant witchery, where a witch can be a witch. You can talk about whatever you want. You know, we discuss it. And honestly, I love this group. I love the people in it. They're very mature, as mature as we can be, at least.
Yeah.
But it's fun. We're open to a lot of things, and I think I've never had an incident where there's been like really shit going on. It's just always been discussion. It's always been really respectful, really challenging too. You know, there's things that have been said that challenge people, but it's a good group. It's a good group of people, and if you want to be part of that, definitely come join us.
Yes, please do.
And what's this? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would like to say before?
No, I'm pretty much done, I think. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna follow up on. I posted in the group the other day about a divination game exercise thingy-majig, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to be posting up more details about that tomorrow. So if you were interested in the divination game that we're going to begin, tune in tomorrow into the group, and there will be a post that will explain everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's it.
I guess, yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else I want to say, but I think that's it for this week. It's just very laid back, and, you know, next week we'll have something more to discuss. We'll have a more of a focal point. I think that this week we just need to kind of just take it and zone, you know, zone out.
There was a lot that needed to be cleared, I think. A lot of rubble had built up, and sometimes you just need a clearing session.
Yeah, and I was questioning, like, do I want to still do this? Like, do I still want to do this work? Because I have a lot of shit to do. We all have a lot of shit to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I really want to be a part of this. You know, I don't know if I want this anymore. But I pulled my head out of my ass, and of course I want this. This is amazing, and it is what it is. It's gonna happen, and I'm not gonna back down. And we're gonna continue with our amazingness.
Exactly. We are fantabulous.
Yes, but next week we will definitely have a show that's specifically geared, and we'll have some techniques, and we might have some meditations. I'm putting together a few things, and it'll be very informational.
Yes. Yeah.
Until then.
Yeah, we have lots of plans.
Mm-hmm.
And we will say good night.